I've been in and out my mind since I hit your phone. I've been counting up the times.
Hello there guys, welcome back to the channel and wishing you all a very happy new year. Well, as it turns out, for this new year we have just crossed 200 subscribers, so thank you very much for the immense amount of support that you have shown for this channel, and I hope you'll keep doing that in the future. So don't forget to subscribe if you don't want to miss out on the new videos that are coming very soon. In today's video, I will also be talking a bit about the new venture which I'm starting, aka Studio Indelibius. So stick around till the end to find out more. Now, this video is going to be the part 2 of how you can earn from your artistic skills. Now, I'm not going to tell you about additional methods, but I'm going to talk about a very important topic which I guess many artists who have already faced freelancing in their lives will understand quite a bit. Now, if we look at the global scenario, especially in countries such as Germany or America, there are agencies which represent artists and illustrators in terms of their portfolios. They represent them in front of the clients and they bring work for them. Now, what are these called exactly? They are called design and illustration agencies. But in India, if you look at it, we do have many design and illustration studios who have a fixed employee base, who have a fixed staff, who are doing different types of projects, collaborating with each other. But do we really have a platform where artists are represented on terms of their portfolio in front of clients? I guess not many. Now, why am I talking about all of this? Well, what happens in an illustration or design agency is that a specific group of artists and illustrators are represented by a representative, an art or illustration representative. Now, what these people do is they take the portfolio, the whole skill set of an artist, and they exhibit it. They represent that artist in front of a potential client base. Now, after they have represented these artists, the clients might just like their work and they might want to collaborate with the artist or a small group of artists for a specific project or a series of projects. And what the representative does is, on behalf of this agency, they will collaborate with the client first. They will get to know about all the details of the project, the budget, everything, and then they will bring the artists on board into this project and will continue with the work. So what this basically does, it just increases your horizon, the amount of work you can do with freelancing. Now, why am I talking about this? Representation in art, is this required? Is this important? And why will you need it once you start freelancing? For all the artists and illustrators, graphics designers, all creatives, I would like to use the term creatives here because all these different streams are creative streams and you are doing something which is very original in its form and idea itself. So let's call everyone creatives here. Now, there is a particular point in the lives of all these creative individuals where they have enough skill set such that they will start exhibiting it in front of a client base and they will want to do freelancing. Now, once you have reached this level, as I did, I reached this level, I think, in the year 2016 to 17. That was around the time when I started freelancing. I used to sell products which were designed by me as well as sell my services in terms of freelance projects. Now, what used to happen is clients used to come to me. I used to take up these projects, decide the rates and everything, and complete that freelance project. Now, what might not seem evident in the beginning is all the background activity that comes with freelancing. This is something which is going on behind the curtains and you don't really notice it. Now, what are those? Let's look into it. You need a professional looking portfolio. That is the first and foremost thing. And picking the artworks for your portfolio, this is something which I've seen many artists do. It is not always correct if you are just picking up all the pictures, all the drawings, all the designs which look the best to you and you're putting it in your portfolio. No, that is not the case, because all the designs, all the artworks that might look good to you might not actually be the ones which the client base is looking for. So creating a portfolio needs some amount of advice, needs some amount of experience to be done right. The next thing which you would want is an active engagement in a particular niche. Now, for instance, you are a very good illustrator who is good at illustrating children's books, children's comics. Now you would like to hang out in a community, in a niche community, not only artists but also storybook writers who are present, who are making storybooks for children, who are making comic books for children. Now these writers want an access to a base of illustrators and artists who can make illustration for such books. And that is the place where you need to hang out. That is the place where you need to be active. You need to be actively posting, interacting with people, and it takes quite a lot of time. And now comes one of the more critical aspects of your freelancing journey, and that is figuring out the base rates of your services. And this can be pretty difficult because when you're starting off, especially in the art community, many people think that the base rates for their work will increase as their skill set is increasing. And in the starting, what many people do is they work for free, they will work for very minimal rates, and they will create very decent projects, but they will not be getting the exact value for their work. And I for myself have faced this quite a number of times, because when I was starting off with my journey, I couldn't charge a lot of money for the logo designs, for the graphics designs, for the commissioned art pieces which I was making, because I was of the thought that if I am charging too much for it, or am I charging too less, how will I know the correct rate? How do I know the market standards? Well, that is one place again where you need experience, where you need insights from people who have already been in the industry. And that can prove to be a critical point in how much you are earning, how much encouragement, and how much value you are getting for your work as you start off with your freelancing career. Hand in hand, going with the base rates of your projects, of your services, is the negotiation part. And this can be pretty difficult, because making your clients understand the value of the assets which they are paying for, understand the value of those reusable design systems which they are paying for, of those illustrations that they are spending their budget on, making them understand this fact can be a bit challenging, especially if you have not worked for quite a lot of time. You're just starting off with your freelance services, starting off with your freelance projects. And due to this, the challenge that is presented is that your clients will be able to negotiate more with you. And sometimes, again, you will feel that you are going below that base rate. And once you go below that base rate, once the negotiation has gone through, you can't really upcharge, you can't really bring the prices up again, because it is a final negotiation. You are on terms with the client and you're already working the project. So that is again something which requires experience and insight into the industry. Now coming to the next thing, negotiating the terms of copyright, media ownership, and media sharing. This is something which is very important to artists, illustrators, and designers working in the digital era, especially because once you have shared a file digitally, there are n number of things which can go wrong. Your client might be using it beyond the terms of a certain project. They might be selling it, they might be modifying it and sharing it without your knowledge. And these are terms which need to be negotiated at the beginning of your project. And trust me, it can prove to be very unprofitable for your freelancing service, especially if you are just distributing something for free and it is being used so widely and you are not being remunerated for it, you are not being compensated for this usage. Yes, you can post something as a Creative Commons asset and you are keeping it open to the public, but something which you have made for a specific client at a specific rate, you don't really want it to be open source. An open source project, something which the client wants to be open source, would have different costing terms, would have different background prices for you. It will have a different value for you. And that is something which you really need to keep in mind regarding the authorization of the content you are producing, regarding the authorization of the usage terms which the client is agreeing upon. And again, this is something which can be missed out completely by people who are just starting off with their freelancing services. And it is very crucial, because imagine you are creating a custom font, a custom typeface for a client. And the client, without your knowledge, the client just tells you that, okay, I want to use this for my brand, for my specific brand. And they just keep using it for the brand. But suddenly what they do is they commercialize that font without your knowledge and they are selling it. Now that font is not an asset just for the client, but for the whole world who can buy that asset, because it is now licensed under the client's name. and that is not something which was covered in the initial phase of the contract, the initial contract on terms of which you have completed the project. So there are many legal terms regarding to this, such as copyright, media sharing, and media authorization, and that is something which you can't always look into as you're beginning your journey. Whew. That seems like a lot, right? And let me tell you, in the 5 years of freelancing that I did personally, I faced quite a lot of challenges regarding this, and I was able to learn even more from all these challenges. Because once you have that exposure, once you tap into that client pool and you are doing multiple projects, from each client you get to learn something new. From each project you get to learn something new. And especially if you keep reading about this, there is no doubt that in a very short period of time you can master all of them, but that doesn't really become true if you're not putting in all the efforts. Now, why am I saying that? I don't mean to demean anyone here. It is just the fact of life that you don't get enough time to do everything, right? You will be focusing on your art form, you will be focusing on increasing your skill set in terms of your art form, the services you are providing, and it is not always possible for you to market yourselves out there. It is not possible for you to create that best portfolio. You might just not be getting enough time. You might be having a primary job which is supporting your life expenses, and it is just your part-time activity. So how much time are you really able to invest? Well, let me tell you one thing. These organizations which I talked about previously, the art agencies, the illustration agencies, the creative agencies, what do? They will remove these barriers which are in between the freelancer and the client. They bridge the gap very smoothly between the freelancers and the clients, and they bring these projects to fruition with the least amount of roadblocks possible. Now, how is this design or creative agency advantageous to the illustrators, designers, and the artists? Now, acting as an intermediary between the clients and the illustrators, these agencies will conduct all those background activities, the behind the curtain activities for you. So what happens basically when you go to an agency? What are the advantages? First, let's look into them. One of the biggest advantages is that you can tap into a much larger pool of clients, because what's the function of an agent, of a creative agent? They will keep talking to clients. Yes, they will recruit artists and illustrators onto the team, but at the same time they will continually be in communication with the clients. They will try to get newer, better projects with higher budgets every time they are out there in different types of niche environments. Now, that is also another advantage. Since an agent is looking at multiple number of niches, it is of much higher probability that they will get you more projects, because there might be two very similar niches, such as a children's book illustrator might be very good at character design, right? Because they are creating these different types of characters for the illustrations. So if there is a character design job at another place, you might as well come in contact with that, and your agent might hand over that project to you. Point number 2. The agency and that agent knows the value of your work. Now, on the basis of your experience, on the basis of the service, the quality of the service that you're providing, it is very likely that your agent will know the exact value of your work, and that ensures that you get a fair price for the work that you're doing, as well as the client gets a fair price for the project they're handing over. And this balance in the economy, it just results in such a smooth flow of things. I am telling you, because I've been in a number of negotiations with clients, and it just ends up being so long sometimes, because you have to do it all yourself while at the same time drafting up ideas for that project. So it is just such a simultaneous activity. It's better left off to someone who is just dedicated at doing that. Point number 3. These so-called agents or representatives, they are artists and designers themselves at the core, and they know not only the value but also the amount of time which needs to be allotted to a specific artist or designer to complete that job. Many a times clients want things on an urgent basis, and it is in these times that you might go for a higher rate, you might negotiate for a higher base rate for your project, but you are not really able to set that specific time interval in which you will be able to complete the project. And that is something which an agent will be very crucial in determining, and they will be able to create that boundary where quality meets the project timeline. And that is very important, my friends. Another very important thing is that your representative or your agent will maintain this constant feedback loop with your clients. This is another thing which many artists might miss out, many especially digital mode artists might miss out, is that your clients can ask for a number of revisions. I remember this one client for whom I had done around 15 revisions for a single project, and that is just a lot. That is quite a lot, especially if you are making a single logo design and you are doing 15 revisions. There needs to be a base rate which is determined for these revisions also. Now, what really happens if you are represented by an agency is there is a certain level of authority. Neither your clients can be exploited and neither the illustrators and designers can be exploited, because your client's financial budget is safeguarded by the fact that these agents and the people working behind the curtains have put in enough efforts to select the artists who are actually able to deliver on the timelines, who are actually able to deliver according to the standards which the client is expecting. And on the other end of the spectrum, what happens is that these artists, illustrators and designers, their rights, their value is safeguarded by the same agency, because they know what is exactly going on in terms of the functioning, the timeline which is required, the base rate which the artist deserves, and the amount of artists that need to be onboarded onto a project to complete it within a specified timeline. So there might be a case where your client wants a set of visual assets for their website. Let's say it is around 50 assets. Now, for your information, I have completed a maximum of 100 assets within a time of 2 weeks, and I was able to do this only because I was sitting for almost 8 hours a day during my vacations, and it is excruciating to be done by a single person. So just imagine yourself working in a team in this scenario. Now, it is not always possible to form your own team, and these agents, these illustration agencies, since they have multiple artists, multiple designers working for them, they can have a team created for a specific project, and that is really, really helpful. Okay, now having said all of this, imagine an agency of this sorts here in India. Since we don't really have one which is defining all these boundaries together, this new year, in the year 2024, I decided that there should be one. The next up and coming creative agency, a solution not only for clients looking for the top-notch illustrations and designs, but more so for the creatives, the artists, the designers, the illustrators who are looking to up their game in the freelancing world. There are not going to be any boundaries here that you are just bound to this agency. You cannot work for yourself, you cannot work for anyone else. No, there needs to be an agency where you will be represented regardless of what work you are doing independently. But you will get opportunities handed over to you once the agent is able to bring them into the agency. And that is why, my friends, I am starting this venture called Studio Indelibius. You can go to the link below, www.indelibius.in, and hit that apply button. Whether you are an artist, a traditional artist, digital artist, a graphics designer, logo designer, concept artist, character illustrator, it doesn't matter. If you are in the creative field, we can figure out a solution for your freelancing project requirements. And I will urge you to go to www.indelibius.in and hit that apply button, fill out the Google form, and I will be in touch with you, and we will be creating this team, a team of hyper-talented creatives who will be able to deliver on the timelines and the requirements of the clients, and will bring the clients' creative ideas to fruition. This venture is not just something which is being created out of thin air, no. This venture is somewhat a necessity I feel needs to be there in the creative industry in India. Because as I have completed 5 years of freelancing previous to this, I feel there is that gap which needs to be filled in terms of completing that bridge between the two ends of the spectrum, connecting the clients and the creatives. So with that, I would like to end this video. And I would like to again call out to all the creatives to apply so that we can form this team and we can go out there and change the creative freelancing world forever. Peace out.